With Mass Effect Andromeda coming out later this month, I was one of the many people who took this opportunity to play back through the original trilogy, give Shepard and company one last hurrah before diving into the new world of Mass Effect Andromeda. And, you know, after a decade, I wasn't sure if it was going to hold up to my memories of the game, but this is what I found. Let's begin at the beginning. We open with a little blurb to let us know that, hey guys, humans are in space now. God, that music is so nostalgic to me. What follows is a fairly simple introduction, but it's so memorable. The walk through the Normandy, the opening scenes in the first mission. It wasn't until I was a few hours in that I realized why this was so memorable. The pacing in Mass Effect is almost perfect. Everything is given to us through what's happening now in the game. The first alien you encounter in the game is Nihilus, who's a Turian and a Spectre, so through him we learn that we used to not get along with the Turians, but we're allies now, and we're still pretty young in the galaxy, and there's this whole galactic council of different races that we, now as humans, want to be a part of. From there we pretty much jump right into the main story, getting our first glimpse of the Geth and of the main conflict. There's no information overload. You don't have to scour the codex just to figure out what's going on in the game. Your next destination is the Citadel, where you meet new aliens and allies at a pretty steady pace, and you basically have your squad assembled by the time you set out from the Citadel. Some games haven't even finished their tutorials by this point, and Mass Effect has already pretty solidly established an entire galaxy. And I don't remember feeling that way in a lot of BioWare's other games. I really enjoyed Jade Empire, but the opening scenes of that game seemed overly proud of the language they'd invented for it, and Dragon Age is still just a fantasy world with elves and dwarves. Everything it does to make them unique kinda just comes off as justification. Knights of the Old Republic could struggle with this sometimes too. They clearly knew that nobody playing it was new to Star Wars, but they still had to cram in some obligatory exposition just in case. Speaking of Knights of the Old Republic, I forgot how much it felt like BioWare just really wanted to make another Knights of the Old Republic, except they didn't have the Star Wars license anymore, so they just built their own universe with space jellyfish and crazy mind powers. Between the level designs, the way the galaxy serves as a hub between mission worlds, the random containers of upgrades, the morality system, and the way the Normandy is laid out with each crew having their own spot where they hang out all the time, this game has KOTOR's fingerprints all over it. The combat is definitely different though. They went from a sort of turn-based gameplay system to a sort of cover-based third-person shooter, except with the ability to pause time and line up some of your abilities. But it's still a class-based RPG, so your aim is based less on player skill and more on your character's weapon ability, which means that sometimes you won't hit what you're firing at. On the other hand, it also means that you don't have to be perfectly accurate, which can be helpful because sometimes the combat gets clumsy. Cover can be finicky, and trying to hit something that's right in front of you is a lot harder than it has any right to be. You also have to pay attention to your weapons, because in Mass Effect you don't have a traditional ammunition system. Instead, your weapons overheat if you fire them too quickly, and you have to wait a minute for them to cool down. Also on the 360 version, grenades were mapped to the back button, which kind of made me wonder if BioWare had ever actually played a shooter on the 360 before. It can be kind of weird at first, especially playing it now, but you get used to it pretty quickly, and outside of a few frustrating battles, it's totally fine. And the game still looks pretty decent. Humans haven't aged all that well, especially with the weird, chunky armor designs. BioWare definitely didn't figure out how to make the armor look good until the later games. But the alien designs still look pretty good, which makes sense because they were probably designed around the graphical limitations of the time. One thing that did stand out to me though was how empty the Citadel felt. This is the galactic hub for billions and billions of aliens, and at any given time there's like 6 of them in the Citadel. It wasn't until the later games that places really felt populated, but that's a pretty minor complaint. Really my only other complaint is the Mako, and I used to defend the hell out of the Mako. It's a powerhouse, and running over the Geth can be pretty satisfying, but the thing handles like a drunk elephant with rockets strapped to it. It's not so bad in the missions, but when you're exploring a planet that clearly was never designed to actually be driven on just to find some little piece of a side quest you didn't really care about, it gets old pretty fast. Sorry, Mako. Without my nostalgia glasses, you're kinda terrible. In the end, all the things that made Mass Effect an amazing start to the trilogy still hold up really well now. Garrus, Tali, Rex, and Liara are still great characters, and honestly, I think they're what really make the game. Mass Effect builds a solid universe, and the Reapers are an interesting enemy, but it's the relationships you build with your squad mates that really make the game shine. In a game that prides itself on difficult decisions, sometimes the hardest decision I had to make was who to bring with me on the mission, just because I didn't want to miss out on any of the banter. So if you've been wondering if another tour of duty on the Normandy SR-1 is worth it, or if you've just never gotten around to checking out the world of Mass Effect, I still definitely would recommend it, despite a little bit of clunkiness. In fact, the entire trilogy is really worth your time, but I'll talk about the sequels next week. After all, I need something to keep me busy while I wait for Andromeda to come out. Please be good, please be good, please be good.